Welcome to the Spirit of a Badass, where we celebrate stories of courage, hope, and resiliency. I am your host, Alecia Jacobson. Okay, before we get into today's episode, I have to shout out someone who's not just a sponsor of the podcast, but one of my favorite humans, Becky from Wilson Aesthetic Company, located in Oregon. If you know me, you know I don't share things I don't 100% believe in, and this one is something special because it's built by my bestie. Wilson Aesthetic Company is all about enhancing what you already have, not changing who you are. It's thoughtful and rooted in education and safety, which is exactly how she approaches everything. From neurotoxins and fillers to skin treatments that support long-term results, every appointment is customized and never cookie cutter. If you've ever been curious about aesthetic treatments or just want to feel like the most refreshed version of yourself, check out Wilson Aesthetic Company. I trust her with my face, and that says everything. You can find Wilson Aesthetic Company on Instagram or book a consultation directly. Tell her I sent you and get $25 off your first treatment. Hello, what's up? Thank you for joining me today. Today is going to be a little bit of a shorter episode. I'm giving you kind of a snippet of a private podcast that I did inside my GLP-1 lifestyle group. That is where I have women in there who are using a GLP medication, and I support them in the lifestyle portion of it, all of the habits and things like that. And one of the things that I shared in this group were kind of 7 surprising things that are keeping you stuck that you wouldn't really kind of have the awareness about as you're kind of starting out a new chapter. And so I wanted to give you 3 of those things today. If you are someone who is using a GLP medication or considering it, I will put the link to my bio to the Patreon group where we meet and have monthly Zoom calls and connect in that private group. So today we are going to go over 3 of the things that are surprising that are probably keeping you stuck and maybe spinning your wheels, or kind of like you maybe know what needs to be done and it's not happening, kind of that type of vibe. The first one is people pleasing. Now, most of the people that I talk to just in my personal life and my coaching clients, people pleasing is top of the motherfucking list of things that they're like, what is this? And one of the kind of components of people pleasing is that if you're saying yes to someone or something in order to sort of calm that piece of you that kind of gets agitated when, you're asked something of you, or kind of this uncomfortable feeling. It's like, okay, if I can just soothe that by saying yes to this thing, which is going to take your time and energy, you are saying no to yourself. And when you stack enough of those situations up, if you're working on a big goal or even a small, medium-sized goal, anything that requires a stretch of you that kind of gets you to your edge and makes you a little uncomfortable, if that's something that you're wanting to give time and energy to, if you're giving time and energy to this kind of people-pleasing nature part of yourself, that's draining you. And it keeps you kind of in that stuck middle ground because you're like, wait, I want to give this time to this new activity I want to do. Or maybe I was just talking to a past client of mine at yoga. We were talking about art classes, and just think, if you want to start something like that, you have to kind of be a little uncomfortable. You have to make time for it. You have to give resources to it. But if you're spending your time doing shit for people that you don't actually want to be doing, or you're taking on tasks that just drain your energy instead of kind of building that energy, you're saying yes to that. And when it comes time for yourself, you don't necessarily have the energy to pour into yourself if you are doing that people pleasing. So one, just kind of noticing like, oh, this is something that I have. I've shared on here before how this was something that my husband, it's probably been like 2 years now, kind of realized like, oh, I'm a people pleaser. I didn't really even recognize it. And then he started kind of realizing like, oh, I have these tendencies because I want to make people happy essentially and not cause any discomfort in the kind of agreed upon relationships. He realized at first that was kind of the first step. And then it was going out and practicing asking for his needs essentially to be met or saying no. And then having that like discomfort of, no, I'm not going to do this, and kind of managing that space of friction. And then, after you practice like anything, it gets easier and easier. So if that's you, just know that like, hey, there is energy going out that you could be using and diverting to the things that you want to be doing and kind of saving that. I mean, we're all fucking tired. Let's face it, right? I mean, anywhere you can conserve energy is good. But if you're doing these people pleasing things, just notice it and start. There's tons of like really neat books out there, or people. I mean, I do a lot of coaching with people on this, but there's lots of resources that you can kind of start to unpack that a little bit and then get a little uncomfy and start kind of redirecting those behaviors so that you can funnel the energy into things that you really enjoy. The next one is relying on your future self. The premise of this looks like I have a goal. Let's say I want to start running. It's starting to get a little warmer here. And I'm like, you know what? I want to start running. And this is something I do every year. So this is a real one. And let's say it's windy out today. And I'm like, ugh, I don't want to do it. Or earlier this week, or I think it was last week, I was all dressed in my running gear. I wore that shit all day long. Do you think I went running? No, I did not, because I was like, oh, I'm going to go at like after lunch when the sun comes out, it's a little bit warmer. Did not go because I don't do the exercise generally in the afternoon or the evening. I don't like it. I have to exercise first thing in the morning or it's not going to get done. And me, I'm just like, oh, it'll be fine. I'll totally do it. My me of the future will just be on board with that, even though it's something that I don't do. So if you're putting all of your eggs in the basket of future you, but future you, like we know that she's not going to want to do it, right? Future you, unless you're planning for that future you and kind of building the structures and the systems to make future you better. And you're just like starting out this running thinking, oh, no, next week I'm going to start and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, or later today or whatever. No. So if you do that, oftentimes then you just feel like shit. And you're like, oh, I did it again. And it's like this like spinning of your wheels when really just need to do it now. Okay. Make the plan for now. So these other ones, when I've been running, I either did it immediately or I did like my strength training and then I picked my time that I was going to run. But I will not again say I'm going to run later in the day, or I'll start next week, or, I love a fresh month or things like that. But how many times have you been like, oh, I'm just too busy right now, but next month it's going to get better? That does not work. That I don't know that I've ever seen that work in myself or in other people. And sometimes it takes a little bit to realize that. But let me just tell you, if that's kind of what you're banking on, is the you in the future is going to have the shit handled. No. Okay. Especially if it's something that is a stretch for you. Like we just need to dive in. You don't need a Monday. You don't need a new month. You don't need anything like that. Just start now, even if it's small. Just get started and get it done. Don't bank on future unless you have to like learn something or get a certification. Like unless there's a obvious reason that future you is going to have like the ability to do it. But for the most part, just start now. Okay. All right. Last one is not tolerating slow progress. If I could, this is such a big one. We live in such a way that we expect progress to be exponential and quick. And like, I have the thought, it needs to be done now. We have all sorts of social media that tells us these like before and after photos, these accounts that give us the sort of finished product, when actual progress is very slow and deliberate, and you're planting the seeds as seasons to progress. It is not this overnight, I decided to be healthy, and then next week I am reaping the benefits of the exercise and good nutritious foods, and I'm walking. Like, it doesn't work that way. Yet our brains are like, somehow something is happening that's like, oh, that's the way it should be. Not at all. And the more you can sort of stretch that window of tolerance of realizing that progress is slow and not shitting on yourself or making yourself feel bad or anything that's like the icky, like, I should be further along. Obviously be in reality of if you've been doing something for a while and you're not getting the results you want, what needs to be changed. But this is different. This is like you're starting a new exercise program, or even like think about when you start a new job. There is such a learning curve to things. And there's like, just in the lifestyle group, I was sharing things and it's like, what can you look back on from the prior week or month and think, okay, what went well? What didn't go the way you wanted? And then how can you pull that forward? That's a lot. I mean, if you can do that every single week when you're making this stretch goal and you're kind of finding your edge of discomfort and realizing like, oh, slow progress, even, for the people that I work with that are big into lifting, you can't go in and have a big lift. Like, you have to progressively work up to lifting more weights. I mean, you can take this and expand cooking. I have friends that are just amazing. It takes time. It takes practice, all of these things. And if you're doing something new and it's uncomfortable or it's a little out of your wheelhouse, something, and you just really are mean to yourself, and then you're not going to get the results of it because you're not tolerating slow progress. So if there was one I could give you, it would be to realize that it's not an overnight thing. It's not even a, next week thing. Slow progress is progress. And that's so great. And don't be making yourself feel bad for not having this like super fast progress, because then we give up, right? So know that it's going to be slow and stay with it. And what I always tell people is whenever they're doing this kind of new habit, usually after week 2, they're like, oh, I nailed it. And then they're like, give me more. I feel like I need to be doing more. And I'm like, oh, slow your roll. Give it one more week of doing all of this, because life has a way of happening and kind of derailing us a little bit. And if you add too much too quickly, it's difficult to maintain it all, right? Because we have all these other things in life that we're maintaining. So if you're adding something new, just take it slow and go into it with that kind of mentality that it doesn't have to be this like hot and heavy, fast, experience. That slow progress is progress. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I will put a link in the show notes if you are interested, or somebody who would be interested and maybe is using a GLP but does not have, the sort of the backup, the habits in place that are so needed. So I will put that link in the show notes so you can access that. And I will see you next week. Spirit of a Badass is a Lit Path Studios podcast and is produced by Jamie Gale and Alecia Jacobson. Music by Shane Ivers. We'll be back with another inspiring interview. Until then, keep your spirits high and your energy badass.